Have you ever wondered what a restaurant looks like before it receives its first Michelin star? Well, today you have the opportunity to witness that in what I think is a textbook example of a restaurant who is very close to receiving that acclaim, but is still just not right there. And it's very interesting to witness this and seeing the details that may be the tipping point of receiving that Michelin star. Terre is run and operated by chef Yves Lallet and is based in the central parts of Copenhagen. His cooking style is very French due to his origin, but there also is some Asian tones there as well, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he implements that in the tasting menu throughout the evening here. So please join me in this very unique and interesting review and see if they are as close as I claim them to be of receiving that first Michelin star. At this visit there were 2 tasting menus to choose from, and I went with the longer version this evening.
Our étagère, our amuse-bouche, starts with a plateau de fruits de mer on the top, where the shellfish has gotten a little Asian twist. Recommend to start with the petonko, the Faroese Island scallop, marinated in a Japanese ponzu with a ponzu gel on top. Then petit gamin oysters from Normandy with a Thai-inspired namjim dressing. And then finish off with the crevette rosé or skein shrimp with a gochujang emulsion from Korea. In the bottom part, we'd like you to have what we call a little tour de France, a little trip around the bistro bites and classical regional dishes from France. We start with the radish right in front of you, a radi beurre, our version of this classic family event snack. Usually in France you'll have the radish with cold butter and salt for the fresh radish. Here we hollowed it out and filled it with a horseradish butter. Then œuf mayonnaise, the classic quail egg with a miso mayo and cress on top. Then you get to have 1 bite of Provence in our tomato à la Provençale. It's very important that you take it in 1 bite because it's liquid inside. Just a little holder as a guide. Then to continue to Nice, where you will have the classic pissaladière, a little tart filled with caramelized onion, anchovies and dried olives on top. And finish off with the regional dish of Burgundy, escargot à la Bourguignon. Here you'll get the best part when eating snails. It's not the snails itself, but once you're done dipping the bread into the garlic butter they've been cooked in.
I like the presentation here, and it's a smart move to use the seafood plateau because it brings a little bit of elevation to the presentation, and that's always a little bit of fun to have that at your table. We can also see here that it's a clear foundation for the chef to use both Asian and French flavors, and my only feedback would be on this serving that it may be a little bit too much here going on. There's quite a lot of different snacks, and my recommendation would probably be to reduce that amount, and that what is left, that you really focus on the flavor profiles here to bring them to the next level and making them even more delicious. Next up was the bread serving, and it consisted of a round sourdough loaf, and it had a really nice crust to the outer layer, and it was served warm, which is something that I really like because there's few things in life that's better than warm bread and butter. On the side there we had a Danish butter which was topped up with some French olive oil, and this may be a subjective note, but I do prefer when you have it side by side and not mixed together with this. It makes a little bit of a mess. Our first real dish of the tasting menu was hiramasa, that is a white fish that belongs to the tuna family and is really good when served raw as it was here, and that was together with some lukewarm leek that was mixed up with some seaweed, and underneath this we had a fruity dressing. And throughout the menu we had these small notes coming out from the chef that was bringing a little bit more history to why he has created this dish, and it was a really nice gesture, I think, to sit and read that while eating the food in front of you. The quality of the fish here was really outstanding and was firm and very subtle in its flavor profile, as a hiramasa should be. And then you had that leek underneath that was gently cooked and bringing a little bit of that onion flavor to the table here. And it was good that it was mixed up with some seaweed, because that brought together the seafood flavors on this dish. And underneath, I believe it was a sauce made out from mango, and it was a little bit off for me. It didn't really work with the rest of the dish. I would maybe have wanted it to be a little bit more clear and fresh in the flavors here, but still, it was a good dish.
So the galette, our tourte de Bretonne, it's 12 layers in total. 6 of the layers is Britannic buckwheat pancake, 2 layers of a blue potato, of French origin but locally grown here in Denmark, 2 layers of a Swedish cheese called Corrife from Östersund Dairy Farm, and then 2 layers of egg and quark. On top you have the Berry Gold Selection caviar from Gastro Unica from Belgian Berry Sturgeons. Please enjoy.
I just love these type of dishes. When you have a classical foundation and then you take it to a new and more fun, exciting level. So here having the classical buckwheat galette that's normally filled with some kind of a cheese, and making it into almost like a small cake here, and finishing that off with a nice dollop of black caviar. I love the cheese that is ripping out there through the edges. And let's go into the flavors now. Really nice and fine-tuned, and you can really sense all the different layers here of the buckwheat galette and the different potatoes and the cheeses there. And the caviar there on the top is bringing a nice salty touch throughout the dish. My only complaint here would be that maybe it's a little bit too much of the different layers compared to what's the more, let's say, cheesy and creamy layers. I found it not to be dry, but it could be a little bit more succulent when eating this dish. But still, it was really good and was one of the favorite dishes of this evening.
Stand around, as you could read, our little sous chef special. It's a carré of this lovely Danish fish called ising in Danish. Actually not quite sure what it is in English now that I'm standing next to it. We have the other side of the fillet mixed with some lemon herbs and a terrine with cabbage around it. And then we have the beurre blanc sauce filled with trout roe that's been marinated in meri for 2 hours, and some yuzu for the acidity, some fresh lemon herbs on top.
What a great way to highlight one of his staff here, the sous chef, of one of her dishes that she's been competing with in the yearly sous chef competition in Denmark. A really beautiful dish to look at here, and look at that nice fine tuning on the bones that are coming out from that fish fillet. Looks almost like a piece of meat, a really nice and tidy presentation. Digging into the flavor profile, and it's hard to actually put a criticism on this plate when it comes to the flavors. The fish is beautifully cooked, it looks really nice and tidy. That terrine on the side with some cabbage is very beautiful, and you kept that green, nice, vibrant color in the terrine, which is not that easy to do. And then you have the beurre blanc there with the marinated trout roe. My only feedback probably on this dish would be that could it be a little bit more generous? Could the sauce be a little bit more seasoned up, and could it be a little bit more amount of it? I was missing maybe that generous tone throughout this dish, but besides that, it was really good.
Is everything so far?
Very good, thank you.
So here you have grilled canettes, or small female duck that we grilled on the bone with the breast. Then you have a small chou farci, so cabbage filled with some of the leg meat and the innards. You have Treviso bitter salad with a walnut dressing, and then a sauce that has been flavored with a bit of calamansi. This like lime mandarin fruit from Indonesia.
Grilling something on the bone makes a big difference according to me, and it doesn't really matter if it's fish or poultry or some kind of a meat. It's just a superior way of cooking, because that bone will release a lot of flavor out to the meat, and it's just a really nice way of cooking it, and the eating experience will be so much better. So I'm really looking forward here and seeing how the canette is performing. Being here supported by the cabbage, and you have that cabbage roll also, choux farci, with some of the leg meat inside, and that very interesting fruity sauce. And the sauce is really what's standing out on this plate in a very nice way. It's so fruity and so deep in its flavor from that reduced stock, and that lot of bones that has gone into it with that, and probably a lot of nice vegetables as well. And it's lifting the whole dish here with the canette that is also perfectly cooked, really nice in its flavor profile, that choux farci with the leg meat, and everything comes together, and that bitter salad on top is just bitter enough so it's not annoying on the palate to eat it. A real star. This is my favorite dish of the evening, and the winner is the sauce here.
Some butter roasted rye bread for the cheese. Now a little trolley selection. Managed to put 28 different cheeses on the trolley today, so we have a small selection for you. I'm gonna run every cheese through, and then you'll get to pick and choose whatever the heart decides. The top level is all goat cheese, all of them from France except for this little one. It's made on goat and cow's milk from Denmark. Otherwise we have the four Loire Valley cheeses, Croton de Chavignol, Ovalie Cendré, Rousselière and Valençay. Then from southern France we have the Manon de Buchette, Cône de Port-au-Brie. And from central France we have de Bouchon, Barriquet, and a blue goat cheese called Persillet de Chasson. We continue with the blue cheese. We have a Bleu d'Auvergne, classic French cow's blue cheese. We have a original Roquefort, AOP of 1924, the original Roquefort recipe made on cow and sheep. Then we continue into the red smeared cheeses, where we have the Pont l'Evêque from Normandy. We have Marwal from a small village outside of Lille. We have the two Danish ones. We have Rødløber from Giesing, and the same with Gnelling, which is a dehydrated white and red smeared cheese. Then from Burgundy, we have Sumatran and Ipoise hiding in here. And on the white mold cheeses, we start with another hybrid of the blue and white mold cheese called Femme Fatale from Denmark. We have a Danish modern take on smoked cheese called Ask. Some Brillat Savarin from Buisson and Rhône. And some Cherbourg from Champagne. The Ipoise here is the classic Burgundy red smear cheese that I mentioned before. And we have two selections of sheep's milk, one from Corsica, rolled in rosemary, chili and some other herbs. Quite mature, quite fresh still, semi-firm in consistency. Then a French smoked cheese called Fumasson. It's made in central France, and it's matured in this cave that is an old train tunnel in central France. We've had the honor of being there and seeing where they matured, and once you walk past this cheese you could smell that smokiness. So really fond of it, really nice. Then the heart selection of cow's milk cheese. We have two Swiss Etivas from a modern version of Gruyere, 21 months aged. Some Fleur de Alpage from the Swiss Alps, covered in Alp flowers. Some classic Morbier and some classic Comté, 24 months aged.
For me, it's something magical of having a cheese trolley rolling around in a restaurant and having a person that is an expert in that area and really can take care of the cheeses and make sure that they are at their finest, mature and nice for the customers to eat them at the exact right moment. And here you can really sense that this server really has a passion for cheeses, and it's a big board and that is not easy to handle. I went with a selection here of 6 different types of cheeses, and I tried to capture a little bit of the different varieties. So you'll have the soft white molded cheeses, the hard aged ones, the goat cheeses, the more green or blue molded cheeses, and then you have those salt brined that are often smelling quite a lot, but they're really creamy and nice and not so bad to eat as they smell. And that was actually my favorite here, and that is the famous Epoisses of Burgundy. It's spot on, and it was really good quality, and the matureness of this one was really good. As a pre-dessert we got a bavaroise with some lemon, and the bavaroise is like a set mousse. It's very delicate and nice in its texture, and surrounding that was a crispy layer of some baked white chocolate, and on top was some candy floss. And it was a really nice presentation here inside a porcelain cup that looked like a lemon. And as you probably know, the function of a pre-dessert is to wake up your taste buds again and move them from the savory part into the sweet part of a tasting menu, and that's exactly what happened here. A really fine-tuned lemon flavor, not too acidic but really nice and mellow, and then you had that nice texture of the baked white chocolate giving a nice crunch to the dish, and some lemonade that was in the bottom of this porcelain cup. Also not too sharp, but really fine-tuned. A really good pre-dessert. Normally a main dessert when you're eating at a fine dining restaurant and a full tasting menu will have some kind of chocolate inside it, and also was the case in this dessert. It was a chocolate sorbet, but it was lightened up by more tropical flavors. So we had passion fruit here and banana, and a little bit more acidity than you would normally find in a decadent chocolate dessert. For me, the flavors didn't work as good as the previous dessert did here. It was a little bit off again with the combination and balance together with that bittersweet chocolate and the tropical flavors here. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't spot on, and it wasn't clear enough in the flavors there of the banana and the passion fruit in contrast with the chocolate. And I have to say that I actually prefer the pre-dessert a lot more than this main dessert in the menu, and that shouldn't be the case. I was feeling pretty stuffed at this point, but we still have a few more bites before we can end our meal, and here we had a cornet with some likely whipped cream and some blueberries on top and inside. And starting with the waffle itself, it was nice and crispy, but the filling was a little bit too loose and making it a bit of a mess to eat it, and also the size of it was a little bit too big for me. I would have preferred it to have a much smaller size and a little bit more easy to eat it.
Yes. Dark chocolate, 62% pure cacao from Peru, shaped as Credit Suisse gold bars. You have a pâte de fruits made with raspberries and licorice root. You have French nougat with dried apricots and pistachio, and our as well homemade macaron made with lime and white chocolate.
So what do I think then about my meal here at Terre in Copenhagen, and are they as close as I claim them to be of receiving that Michelin star? And I have to say I think yes. If you look at this and the whole structure of the menu and how the service is working and all the different parts, it is really good, and it is most definitely up on that standard. The only thing that I'm missing here is fine-tuning the flavors on the menu and the sizes and just getting that right, and this restaurant will 100% have a Michelin star in the near future if they fix that. So therefore I'm putting the point here on the food at 87 with a plus mark in the end. And following with the service, I have to say, even though I was pretty early on my reservation and I had full attention from the service team for the first, let's say, 1.5 hours, the service has been spot on throughout this evening. The passion and how they tell the story behind the dishes and just letting everything run in a really smooth order for you as a customer. It's been really good and enjoyable, and therefore I'm putting the service point here at 89. And finishing off as always with the ambience of this restaurant, and I think it's been really nice and cozy, but I do think that maybe just working a little bit with the interior and making that even more French and warm when you step in here. I don't know, maybe some tablecloths or something like that, just to get another feeling in the dining room would have been good. But I really enjoy sitting here in this restaurant, and therefore I'm putting the point at 86. And with that said, that sums up this review from Terre in Copenhagen, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this as much as I did with eating in this restaurant, and I really hope to see you in another episode of a Food Critics Monologue where we will review somewhere else. Bye bye.